I'm going to introduce you in just a second. But before I do, I wanted to take a second to just welcome you guys to our team call tonight. If you're new to the team, I see lots of new faces. So welcome to the Fit First Glory Sisters team call. We do these a couple times a month on Monday nights. It's an incredible time to just come and learn from other coaches in the network, learn from other coaches on our team. I always say that success leaves clues. And if you want to know how to work this business and be successful, this is your chance.
Mom, can
okay.
I say
Okay.
goodnight to Tyler?
Yes, you need to get back in your bed. Brian, I'm trying to have my team call here. Sorry, guys. This is the real. So this is a great chance to come and learn because success leaves clues, and these women have been successful. They have crazy lives. We all do. I mean, we all have kids who are running in on us with our, when we're having a team call, or we're on a call or whatever. We're all juggling these different things. And so it's a really good chance just to come and learn from other women who have gone before us. So before we dive into tonight's call and I introduce Ruth, who is our special guest speaker tonight, I wanted to take a second and just celebrate this past month. So for October, this was our Changing Lives Club final leaderboard. And I'm just so proud of you ladies. I'm proud of the people that you're helping. I'm proud of the lives that are represented on this board. And I know that like the fall is hard. Like, let's just call it what it is. We didn't have like a major launch this month other than obviously, well, BOD Interactive, which was a major launch, but we didn't have like pumpkin spice Shakeology or something huge like that. And so we all had to get really creative about how we were going to rally around this new platform. How do we do that? And so I just want to say, I am so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of how you've leaned in, how you've gotten creative, how you're serving people, how you're helping people really take that first step in changing their lives. Let's just let this be the beginning of, really helping them get results and getting them plugged in and getting them everything that they need to be successful. I'm just so proud of you guys. So way to go. And shout out to Shay for being one of our top leaders on the board and just leading the way, and Patrice and Kirby, you guys just rocking it. And I'm so proud of y'all. And I believe Ashley Brown, that was her first month as a coach. So way to go, girl. That's amazing. And then also just wanted to touch on our team calendar for the month. You guys saw this in the team page. But just as a reminder, we've got action hours twice a week. Again, a great chance to just jump on, learn from others. Success leaves clues. So come, learn, grow, see how different people do the business. All of us do our action hour a little bit differently. And I think that's the beauty of jumping on these and learning from other people, is that everyone does it a little differently. And I jump on them still and like learn things from other coaches. I'm like, wow, that's such a great idea. And so don't ever think that you're too good. That sounds weird, but like you've got it figured out enough that you don't need those. Like these are so good for every single person. And then just also just a reminder of all the team calls that we have this month, as well as Spirit Week, and then our coach sneak peek that we're doing via Instagram DMs, which is today and tomorrow. And then we'll have another one later this month as well. So that's everything happening for the month. I am going to go ahead now and introduce you guys to our guest speaker tonight. I'm so excited for you guys to get to hear from Ruth. She's amazing. We actually connected at leadership. We were just talking, Patrice Bueller on our team was talking to Ruth. She knew Ruth, and I was sharing that I'd been a coach for 7 years. And, this was my first in-person leadership that I'd ever been to. And just how, I'd kind of grown this business at a snail's pace. And so we started talking about that and just really connected over that. So I'm excited. We were like right then and there, like we need to be on each other's team calls. So we're making it happen, guys. It's happening. But just to kind of tell you guys a little bit about Ruth, she is a wife. She's a twin mom. So she's got twin toddlers, and then she used to be a teacher. So for all of you teachers out there, she's a teacher turned instructional design turned full-time coach. And then She has been a coach for a little over 7 years as well. She in 2017 or 2018, excuse me, was in the top 10, and she is a 6-time elite coach. So pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And I have to say too, she's got some dance moves, y'all. Like I watched her dance at leadership several times and I was very impressed. She was she was getting down. She can really dance. But she's amazing. Tonight she's going to be talking about soaring through the struggle. And I think we can all relate to that. I told her, I was like, honestly, just tell me what you feel really fired up about right now, because I always think those are the best team calls. And it's funny because I literally said to my girls this morning, I was like, I feel like so many people on our team right now are just on the struggle bus. Like life is just happening. Like it's not anything that's avoidable. It's not anything that we're doing. It's just life's happening, and life can be lifey sometimes. And so learning how to kind of work the business through that. So Ruth, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much for being on tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank all of you guys for being here as well. I appreciate all of your time, and I know your time is valuable. So thank you. And I want to make it all count and get as much goodness in for you as possible. So like she said, I'm Ruth. I've been coaching for, it's insane, 7 years. I never thought I would be here after. This is the longest career I've ever had, which is crazy. And I think actually I'm now doubled any career that I've had in the past. So I just very, very quick background. Like she said, I was a teacher, and then I started doing instructional design. So I got my master's degree, and that's what I was doing when I found this business opportunity. I was working full time at NC State, North Carolina State University, at the vet school there. Does anyone, do I have any North Carolina today? Any Carolina on the call? And also, while I'm asking, chat who my audience is as well. So yeah, I stumbled upon this because I wanted to get healthy and fit. I didn't know about the coach opportunity, even though I had been doing Insanity for years. I actually was Turbo Kick certified. Like I was teaching Turbo Kicks in gyms, but I didn't know about the coach opportunity. And so when I found this and I was looking for girls who had a similar before body to me and who had the after body that I aspired to be like. And I think that's a very important thing to note. And I'm going to ask you guys in just a little bit. But so often we think our progress photos need to be like this huge thing. And so maybe you have 100 pounds to lose, or you have 50 pounds to lose, or maybe you just had a baby, whatever it is. Somebody is looking for your before body. Like my before and after transformation from my first 21 days, I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. And so I could have easily let that be a halt to me, like right away, like, oh, well, I'm not going to, I don't have a lot of weight to lose. It's not that inspiring. 7 pounds, like who cares? But instead, I just always remembered that I was literally on Instagram searching hashtags 21-day fix results, and I was hashtagging T25 results. And I would spend hours scrolling at night looking for my body in a before picture. Literally, that's how I got here. I actually didn't purposefully join this business. That was a God gift for sure, because I messaged a coach to join her online boot camp. So I filled out her application online. I found her. She had my before body. She had the after body I wanted. I found her. I was going to join her boot camp. I filled out her application. I didn't hear back from her. I went as far to stalk her on Facebook. I went and found this chick on Facebook and was like, hey, did you get my application? And that's all I said. And she responded to me pretty quickly. She said, to be a coach? And I said, no, I'm not fit enough to be a coach. I just want to be in your boot camp. And then I didn't hear from her for 7 days. So what happened in between that 7 days is the biggest gift of my entire life, because that's why I'm here. And in between that 7 days, randomly enough, I found my coach, Jessica Bowser Nelson's YouTube video about how she earned 5 figures in 1 week with this business opportunity. I don't have any idea how I got to her page at all. Besides, I was supposed to find her page because I didn't know anything about the coach opportunity. So when this chick said to me, "Oh, you want to be a coach?" I immediately said no. I thought coaches were free. I've been doing Insanity for years. They said get a free coach. I just thought it was a person volunteering online. So she didn't message me back and explain anything. She could have, and my ears would have perked up because I was looking at other part-time jobs and I was looking for other ways to earn money because my husband and I were $245,000 in student loan debt when I joined this. So when I saw Jessica, my coach's video about the business opportunity, I said, absolutely sign me up. I'm pretty sure I made a business plan that night, like on a Word document. I'm dead serious. I just didn't know what the opportunity consisted of. When I realized that essentially you could earn income by sharing your health and fitness journey, I was like, let's go. I was already telling people to do Insanity. I was already, leading those gym workouts. So I was like, why not? Let's see what can happen. So this kind of takes me to my first point in regards to soaring through the struggle. And the first point is, do not overcomplicate the process. And I think during this year of 2021, where Beachbody has thrown so much at us, how many of you guys have felt like super overwhelmed? Me. Like, I have just started telling my team, like, I don't know the answers. Just go find it and you tell me when you figure it out. I don't know. There's so many new things flying at us, right? And I had to give myself a gut check the past few months and say, like, why was I successful in this business in the first place? What built my success? And the answer to that was, when I started this business, I saw it for the simplicity that it was. And that was get fit, share your progress. So I didn't overcomplicate it and simplify this business now. With all this stuff Beachbody is throwing at us, that is a massive, massive opportunity. This is we are so lucky to be here, but there's always going to be growing pains, right? And we always have to adjust and figure out like what's happening and all that. But this is a massive, body is a massive opportunity. Like, I am jazzed about it. But I wasn't in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, another thing, like, what am I gonna do? Like, this is so much, I can't do this, right? So I just had to ask myself, what was I doing? Why did I join? And so I want you guys to just do a gut check really fast and ask yourself, before you joined, either however you came in, whether that was the boot camp or the business, why did you join? What were you looking for? Did someone reach out to you? Did you find somebody? Did you tell someone no and then you watched them for months? But I want you to really just ask yourself that, like, how did I get here? Why did I say yes? All right. And then ask yourself, what did you see that person doing? What was the thing that finally, okay, I'm going to do it. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to do it now. Okay. So don't overcomplicate it. When I asked myself that question, I realized something. Forever, I have always kind of like I've always done a program and posted my progress pictures, usually every 7 days, like forever, for 7 years. Just kind of stopped doing it. To be quite honest, it's just because like I'm very, very happy with my physique. Like, I was just like, I'm happy. Like, I don't care about changing. But I really got away from the simplicity of this business. And so these past few months, my Success Club numbers have went down. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why isn't this happening as easily? And I realized I hadn't posted my progress pictures. Even though I was doing 645, I did a 3-month program, which is insane. I didn't post my progress pictures one time through that. And that in itself impacted my business negatively because, again, it's not that someone wants to see this 100-pound weight loss journey. right? They just want to see the changes, whether it's inside or outside. I don't have massive body changes anymore, but it's just that before and after photo catches somebody's eye and it gets them looking right pictures. Your brain can't help but to do that. If nothing else, it just stops the scroll. And in that caption, I get to talk about how I'm feeling, the mental changes, right? So that was one of the things that I had to do a gut check on and say, you've got to go back to doing this, which I am. And in that same process, I've really found like that I've given myself permission to have my own health and fitness journey again. Because I also think sometimes we see so much stuff online, we start thinking we have to do everything how somebody else is doing it. And so I'm all about self-love and body positivity. But sometimes when there's so much negativity towards somebody's body transformation in the body positive space, you can begin to think that you having body goals is a negative thing. And that's where I was at. I was like, why do I feel like I can't have body goals? Like, I freaking love my body as it is. I don't think I need to change it. I just like a challenge. And so I realized I wasn't even being authentic to my own goals either. And allowing myself to have those because of all these things that were coming into my mind. So I had to get clear with my own goals and what did I actually want with my business, what I want to look like, also with my body, like what's my next challenge? Because for me, I'm motivated by a challenge. I'm always motivated by a challenge. And so when I was being complacent in those areas, it was also coming through as complacency in my business. So with that, and if in regards to that process, not overcomplicating it for me, I'm going back to doing like 21-day boot camps using body. And you can go see my national wake up call from 2 weeks ago, and I go more into that process. So I go more into the simplicity of how I'm now going back to my first year of coaching, essentially, and just simplifying this business. So the second thing, how to soar through this struggle, is to set a goal with non-negotiables, but within this, find a system that works for you. Just like what we talked about in the call earlier with the power hours, like everyone does everything a little bit differently, right? But so often we hear one message over and over again, and we begin to think if ours doesn't look like that, we're not doing it right, or we can't be successful. If you don't have a perfect morning routine, you can't be a perfect coach. You can't have a successful business. And just speaking for myself personally, how I've begun to really find so much joy in my business. Honestly, it's been like since November 1st, where I just have like had all these realizations. Is that I kept, we hear all this stuff about miracle morning and getting up in the morning. And for 7 years, I've like tried to be a morning person. And to be honest, like I actually am a morning person now. But I was missing moments that I didn't want to miss. Like my kids would wake up and I want to go and snuggle them and cry. And then I'd be like, well, I need to go work out because it's 6 o'clock and that's when I work out now. And then after I work out, I check in my bod group. And if I don't do it now, like how's that ever going to happen? And so I wasn't allowing myself to live and enjoy the life I wanted because I had got stuck in this perfectionism mindset that it had to look like this perfect morning routine. And I'm just using morning routine as an example. If your morning routine rocks for you, you do you. Okay. I'm just using this as an example for me. But what I realized though, is that I had started to try to work my business like every other successful coach. I thought that I needed to change these things and be more structured because I'm very type B. I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't like, I really, really hate having commitments on my calendar. Like if I have like one thing scheduled in a day, I'm like, I'm really busy and I can't do anything else, right? I hate commitment and schedule and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean I don't like self-discipline and routine, right? How I approach it just looks a lot different. So what I found that I needed to do was set non-negotiables and find that and allow those things to drive my systems. Okay. So for me, power hour, posting on social media, hosting my boot camp and having that monthly calendar. I do need to know what boot camps are starting when and what mentorships and what I'm speaking to each week. But a day-to-day time blocking situation is not my thing. And that's okay. But I do know every day there are certain things I have to do, right? Now, when I do those, it might look different. Like it might look very different when I'm writing a post or when I'm checking into my bod groups. But I gave myself permission to look at that power hour and plug and play where I need to do it. That allowed me to find joy. That allowed me to have flexibility while also building success. And this is exactly what I did when I was a brand new coach. I was not a morning person then. And I always showed up to work the business. I always did, but I just did it differently. That allowed me to work with my strengths. So don't focus on that perfectionism. Don't focus on looking like someone else. Instead, really get honest and clear with yourself about what you need to feel motivated in this business each day. All right. And then the third point, really quick, I want you guys to just analyze your business. Analyze your business. Let's look at October. It just finished. Analyze October. How did you do? How did your business do? How do you feel about it? What did you accomplish? All that. Now, I don't want you to type this in, but just write it in front of you. And I actually want you to write it because I'm going to ask you to reflect on this question in a minute. So as you analyze your business, what's one question you have on how to improve your business this month based upon last month? Write that down. What's one question that you have on how to improve your business this month based upon what you analyzed from last month? All right, I heard this quote, I think it was last year. It was last summer. And I don't know who owns this quote, but it's the power of your life is found in the power of your questions. And when I heard that, I was like, whoa. So, if anyone on here, either maybe you're a mom or maybe you have a full-time job right now and it's super hectic and it's super busy, whatever your circumstances. And today is Monday, right? And you either have to go and you have to mom all day and work your business, in your pockets, or you're going to your hectic, crazy full-time job and you're working your business in your pockets, or maybe you have some other structure that you do where you have time blocks. But it's Monday and yesterday was daylight savings. And I don't know about you guys, but holy crap, daylight savings with 2.5-year-olds is insane. And then on top of that, I thought we should clean our house and it just did not go well. It was the longest day ever. So today is Monday, and no matter your situation, you woke up today and you're going to go do your thing. And you could ask yourself one of two questions. And the question could be, how am I going to get through today? Oh my God, how am I going to get today? I have so much to do. I have to go to work. I have to do X, Y, and Z. It's so busy. I have all these deadlines and I still have to work on Beachbody business. Or how am I going to get through today with my kids because they were crazy yesterday? And like now's another day after daylight savings. Like they're going to be crazy and tired. And then I have to work Beachbody. That could be one way of your question. Or you can get out of bed and you can ask yourself, how am I going to make today great? What am I going to do today to make it awesome? How am I going to have the best day possible today with this one life that I get to live? You're going to go and do the exact same things, but your approach to it is going to be very, very different based upon your mindset and the questions that you ask yourself and how you are looking at things, right? That first question of like, how am I going to get through the day? It just brings on dread and stress immediately. But I know for me, when I started changing this to how am I going to make today great? my brain automatically wanted to just find things. Oh, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. But then how am I going to get through today? What happens when I say that to myself? I literally start thinking, how can I lay on the couch and not move? And how do I get my 2.5-year-olds to make their own lunch? Right? Which we know isn't going to happen. Like, that's not going to happen. So that shift for me has always been how I've worked my business and how I've shown up in my business and how I've tried to approach it. And it's that mindset is something that I've always had to check myself on and get very real with myself, because we have to be our own hype girl in this business, right? We obviously have, yeah, Ashton, woo! We obviously all have an upline, or maybe you have a success partner, maybe you have a mastermind that you work with, but at the end of the day, you are at home by yourself, and you can turn off your computer and you can turn off your phone and you can stay in bed all day. Maybe you can, I don't know, if you wanted to, right? And so you have to be your own hype person, and you have to find ways to make that mental shift happen. And I know last year hearing this really helped me, because I was in the middle of really bad depression. Ever since I've had my babies, I never thought I would deal with depression ever in my life. I thought I was like mentally tougher than it, and I am not. And so taking back my mind has been something that I've had to constantly work on the past 2 years. I've had to constantly create a different mindset, because it's so easily these days wants to go into the negative question, like, how am I going to get through today? And I have to pull it back, and I have to do a gut check. And it's just being conscious of what's happening in our head. And sometimes I think we forget we control our thoughts. We control our thoughts. But so often we let our thoughts control us. And I'm speaking for myself, because I've 100% done this too, where I just let my mind take over and let it start spewing negativity and spewing overwhelm and spewing anxiety and spewing all the things, right? Where at the end of the day, we can stop that at any single moment and change it. You have that power. You have that power within you. So I want you guys to look at your question that you wrote down. And I want you to ask yourself, what's your focus on your question? Is your focus on something that's going wrong? Are you saying, like, I can't get anyone to complete their share cart? No one's completing their share cart. How do I get them to actually complete it? Or are you saying, how can I motivate more people to join my bod group this month? Because it's the same thing, right? Or how can I create urgency around closing? You can say that. How can I create urgency in closing conversations? In that, you're not even acknowledging the negative, right? But you're still learning through it. So one of my coaches at leadership, she's like the hardest worker ever. She's solid. And we were sitting there talking, and I said to her, I said, if I told you that you could be making $20,000 a month next year, what is the first thing that comes in your head? What is the first thing that pops into your mind? And she said, how? And in that moment, and this is like it is like my best coach. And I'm always like, what's holding you back? Like, what is the thing holding you back? Because she is very positive, and she's always doing everything. Like, and I tell her that, I'm like, I don't know what's holding you back, because like you're doing all the things. And I said, I know it's a mindset issue, but like, I don't know what that is. That's something you have to analyze and discover and push through for yourself. And she said to me, how? And in that, I realized every time that we have a conversation, the question is always coming from, like, how do I get more coaches in Success Club? How do I recruit more coaches? So it's always looking at lack. I'm not getting enough of this. I don't have enough volume on this. Like, I don't have enough money in the bank. It was always looking at, like, I don't have enough of this. So how do I then get it? Instead of saying, here's what's going awesome. How can I do more of this? right? And we all have, and I am so guilty of this too, as well, where I'll be like, I only had so many coaches hit Success Club last month. Instead of saying, heck yeah, those coaches hit Success Club, let me pour and love and just sweep them up and celebrate them and just get really close with them and work with them and cheer them on, right? Instead, I'm looking at the other 15 that aren't in Success Club, right? And we have a choice. And I have been on both sides of this where my business has skyrocketed. And it's because I was just zoned in on the good. And yes, the bad is there and there will always be bad. Okay. But when we zone in on that good, that's when all of the magic happens. So in my first CBC, okay, in my first CBC, I have 114 coaches in my downline, or my PS coaches in my first CBC, okay? How many of you are like, I'd take 114 coaches? How many of you guys would say, yep, give me 114 coaches. I want them all. What if I told you 50% of those coaches were inactive? How many of you guys in your downline have your PS coaches, 50% of your coaches are inactive? I will be honest with you. I pulled these numbers today only because I was doing a different call with some other people and I wanted to know. I have never looked at these numbers before. Like once I couldn't keep up with my downline, I have never looked at my numbers like this before. And I never will again. I only did this to show you guys that sometimes we look at someone's success and we think there is no adversity with it, or we think there's no inactive coaches, when 51 of my 114 coaches are inactive, right? And so if you look at your downline, some of you guys are killing it. You're way better. You've got like a 90% inactive rate or active rate, and I'm over here with 50. What about diamonds? How many of you are like, hey, I have 7 diamonds currently in my first CBC that are paid diamond, or maybe 8? How many of you guys are like, yep, I'll take those? What if I told you I had 20 that are no longer paid diamonds, that are fallen diamonds, my first CBC? And if you guys look at your businesses, how many of you are just focused on the people who lost emerald or the people who lost whatever? I've actually never looked at that number before either. And I never will again. That if I focused on those 20 that are no longer paid, it would eat me alive, right? I would find no joy. I would just be looking at the failure. And so instead, I am hyper focused on the 7 and creating more in that 7. What about bod groups? How many of you guys have ever said in your bod group, like, no one's doing anything in my bod group. How do I get them to show up? I get this question from every single new coach ever. And I'm like, oh my Lord, I don't care about engagement in your bod group. What I care about is the one-on-one conversation. Like I actually do not give a crap if anyone posts in my bod group as long as they're messaging me back each week and we're chatting through their goals and what they're doing. That's all I care about. I have 80 people in my bod group. How many of you guys would love to have 80 people in your bod group? You're like, oh yeah, hell yeah, Ruth, your bod group is popping. My new coaches are like, oh my gosh, your bod group is like so energized. I'm like, no, it's not. Go look at it. Per post, I have like, if 3 people comment on a single post, I'm like, oh my God, that was the best post. Like, wow, hit the lottery, right? And the only reason people log their workouts and their shakes is because I do recognition boards every week. If I didn't do those, nobody would log. And yeah, so, but even then, get this, last week, I only had 12 people out of 80 log 1 shake last week, right? I know a lot more people are drinking it, but they're not, I don't log my shake. I'm like the worst at logging my shakes. I need to get better at it. But my point is we could always look at somebody whose business is bigger and better or has more, but you have to realize that behind all of that is the same amount of failure that every single coach faces. we all have people canceling on us. We all have people telling us no. We all have people dropping. We all have people going inactive. And we definitely all have days where it's really, really hard to show up, and days where life throws something at us that we never wanted to happen, and where you have the option to just completely quit and close down and walk away, or you have the option to lean in to this business and use it for all the good that it is in your life. And there have been multiple times in my business where that's all I looked at this business as, was a reason to keep my head above water and a way to keep my mental space positive. Because my husband and I went through infertility treatments years ago to get our twins. So we went through all the infertility challenges, failed IUIs, and thank God our IVF worked on the first try, which is a miracle with my babies. And going through that, and then going through postpartum depression and all of those things. And two months ago, we lost my brother and my sister-in-law in an airplane accident. And that was definitely the first time where I knew if I totally shut down and walked away from this business for months, everyone would understand. Nobody would judge me for a second. I knew no one would judge me. I knew no one would think, I was a quitter or failure, and they would all wrap me in love and check in on me and make sure I was okay. I knew I could disappear for as long as I wanted, and it would be okay. And it would be okay financially as well because of this business. I would still be making a paycheck every single week, and we wouldn't have to worry about anything. But the reason I'm here is because at the core of this business is so much good, you guys. When we don't overcomplicate the process, when we just lean into how can this business make me better? How can I be better because of this business? That's the power and the beauty that every single one of you have with this business. When I was going through my worst depressional stages, good Lord, that was the hardest time to ever show up right there. And it was just doing nothing wasn't going to help me. And I knew I was going through a phase with my depression. And I knew in the tragedy where we lost my brother and sister-in-law, that's not a phase, and it's never going to phase out. And it's always going to suck so bad. But I know that showing up for this business when I do it right makes me better. And I hope that you guys can take that question of, the power, or that statement, the power of your life is found in the questions that you ask yourself daily. And I hope you can use that as a guiding point to guide you to think about, what do you need to do to simplify this business? What systems are going to work for you in this business that bring you with the most joy and that make you the most happy coach possible? And that is truly what I have dove into the past 2 months. Everything I have done has been to bring me joy, to bring me happiness. And in that, my business continues to build. Life sucks sometimes. We don't understand why. But when you lean into the good that this business is, I truly believe this is a gift. And every single one of us have it. And to me, it just never made sense to not show up when this business made me better. So I encourage each of you to think about how you can work this business in a way that's going to uplift your life and also uplift those around you as well. that is all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Ruth, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
No
I know
problem.
I know some of that is so like vulnerable and, just still like raw, and so I think just hearing like everyone getting to hear from you of just like these are real things I'm walking through, and like all of our hard looks different, in different seasons, but I think remembering that everyone's life is lifey. You know what I mean? Like we're all going through something. And if we're not right now, we're going to at some point. So I just think it's really encouraging to, just be reminded of that. Like, does anybody have any questions for Ruth? You can unmute yourself or you can drop it in the chat box. Anybody? Don't be shy. I'll just ask this really quick, Ruth. I know that one question that I hear, people ask a lot is like, when you're going through a hard season, are there things that like you stopped doing or you took a step back from, or things that you like, did you just keep leaning into all the things? Or did you kind of have like, do you have kind of like a survival mode list of things that like you do still try to do every day? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So I do think you have to ask yourself first, where is your business at? And at this point in your business, what are you fighting for? Right? Because for me, my business, especially most recently, my business is at a very stable spot. But when I was brand new and going through the crap, right? And I think the crap we have, all the crap comes in waves, right? Like, so as I was going through IVF, and my business was a lot newer then, I would capitalize on the days that were good. And so I would always look at, okay, what are my goals? What am I pushing towards? And why does it matter to me? And the truth of it for me from the beginning has been my family and my kids and the life I wanted to create for my husband and I and our future children. And in that, the answer to that question, why does it matter, is our the our living our best life is at stake. And what I mean by that is my husband was an equine surgeon before this. And a lot of people would hear that and they'd be like, oh, you're so lucky you married a doctor. And it must be really like cool. It's not cool at all. He would literally work 12-hour days and I'd never see him, like ever. And he would go on call every single weekend. Every single weekend. I never woke up to him in bed in the morning, ever. Like 6 weekends a year, maybe. I never woke up to him in bed because even on the weekends, he'd have to go check his patients. And so in my mind, I was like, what are we going to do when we have kids? But then on top of that, we were also broke. And yeah, he was like going to get a bit bigger paycheck, but like, it was like, okay, cool. He's going to get a bit bigger paycheck and then we wouldn't see each other. So like at the end of the day, we're just like, it doesn't even make sense. We don't even get to enjoy this life together. We were just passing each other by. And willing, I wasn't willing to have kids and not have them have the life with their family that they deserved. And I saw my parents fighting about money every single day. One of my earliest childhood memories was my parents fighting about money. And I refused to have that cycle in my family and I wanted to break it. And so when you say like, what do you do when you're going through crap, right? And you're going through the hard stuff? How do you keep showing up? What are the non-negotiables? And in those first years as I was growing, like all the IVF and the infertility process was so hard. Like, but it was the same thing as like, I'm not willing to allow this season. I'm not willing to allow this season of life ruin the rest of my life. And I think that's what it was. I'm not willing to allow this season to ruin the rest of my life. I recognized it as something that was temporary. And I pushed through that. And honestly, it's the same thing with the depression as well, that with after the kids were born. And it is the same thing as like, even then it's like, I'm going through the worst depression of my life in those moments. And like running away from this business wasn't going to help that at all. Yes, I don't know if anyone relates to depression on here, but for me, it looks like I want to lay in bed and I want no one to know that I exist. And I just want the world to forget that I'm there. And how am I just going to give into that? I couldn't allow myself to stay there, even though I wanted to, and I could have financially at this point. By this point, I could have. But you guys, my kids deserve better. My husband deserves better. And this business truly, when you work it from a place of how can it make me better, then that's what this business can become. And so the non-negotiables that I would show up and do are like what program am I doing? And I'm going to share the good, the bad, the ugly. And I'm going to share how I'm pushing through depression at that time and showing up to work out, or why I'm showing up to work out, even if I don't want to, even if it's the worst workout ever. And just using that as a scapegoat, and saying like, okay, here are the emotions I'm dealing with right now. What can I do in my bod group to overcome it? And so actually, like in November right now, my bod group is all focused on gratitude. And typically I actually usually purchase my content, but I'm writing it all this month from a guide I found online, but then I'm turning it into my own. And it's therapeutic for me to go through it and reflect on everything. And I'm using that as a way to basically like have my own therapy session. Like this business is a gift. We get to decide how we use it. And so for me, my non-negotiables are like, I'm going to show up and be my best self that day, right? And so sometimes that day is not a good day, but the next one, I'm going to try and make it better. And I'm going to have those non-negotiables, personal development, my bod group, my own personal journey, and sharing on social media. That is like a non-negotiable as well. And then I maximize my invites on the good days. So I'm maximizing those invites on the good days. That way, if I'm having a really low day, then I'm like, okay, I got that done. So that's the one thing I will say. I do have an assistant now, so that's awesome. She's amazing. I've never had an assistant like this before. I've always had an assistant, but this one's like next level. But what I will say is that I think assistants are underutilized by a lot of coaches on a lot of levels, because you can get a very inexpensive assistant to take the busy work off your plate, right? The scheduling, the posts in the bod groups, or I don't know, all the things. There's a lot of things, the recognition. But even like follow-ups, right? So if I'm doing the inviting and I have a hot list of people that I've invited, on those bad days, I can be like, hey, I just need you to follow up with these people and screenshot her the list. So my assistant, Nicole, like from when I was brand new, my assistant did scheduling all of my bod group posts. My assistant would, I'm not good at systems and organization. So in the beginning, my assistant would be in charge of making sure my weekly check-ins went out, but I would personally respond to like the response, right? So she would just send like the weekly check-in asking how they were doing. But then I want to make sure I have that relationship with my challengers always. But saying, hey, how'd your week go is not like something that I have to personally do, but I do have to personally answer them back. So that's what I do. Recognition, all of my team recognition, my assistant did in the beginning as well. Graphics, like all the recognition graphics. So when I was brand new, that's what my assistant was doing. Like I've always had someone doing that from the time I was 8 months in this business. And at 8 months into this business, I actually left my full-time job. So there's no, and I was still $250,000 in student loan debt. So from a financial aspect, it didn't really make sense. But when I looked at it, okay, here's how much I'm going to pay this. I used a college girl at the time. Here's how much I'm going to pay this girl to do these activities that would take me X, Y, and Z amount of time. It makes way more sense for me to use that time and work with my coaches one-on-one, or make a post that only I can make, that type of thing. And sometimes I think that we forget that you're not just paying somebody to do something for you, you are getting your time back to use it in the most valuable way possible that benefits your entire life. And so that might be momming or housing or what, I don't know. But I think as women, we're really bad about getting assistance. I see so many 6 and 7 figure earning coaches who have their assistants doing the bare minimum. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I want to live my best life. Like I want to live the best life possible, right? So I'm not trying to do it all. So, and now it's just things like the newsletter. Yeah, she does things that I'm really bad at, which is basically anything that has to be organized and systemized. But like people, posts, I got that. But organization and systems are not my thing, and I cannot do it. Yep.
I love it. Anybody else? Well, Ruth, this was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this call tonight. It was incredible. I'm excited to talk to your team tomorrow night. If no one else has a question, I'd love to just pray for you, Ruth, and then we can wrap up tonight's call. Thank you guys so much for being on tonight, and hopefully this was really helpful. If you're watching the recording, let us know in the comments like what your top takeaway was. We'd love to hear, and give Ruth a follow over on Instagram. She's fun to follow.
I have to tell you guys though too. You just said prayer. I think this is like a miracle that happened. So when I started 6:45, I, for some weird ass reason, decided that I was going to do my boot camp, and the theme was going to be P93. And every morning we're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and it was like three P. So we were going to start with personal development. We're going to push play, and then we were going to pray on our Zoom call. None of that is in my wheelhouse. Like I don't do those things on a Zoom, like ever. And I started doing this in August, and that was a miracle in itself because we lost Courtney and Will September 1st. And I think my life would have fallen apart if I didn't have that community there and if I hadn't committed to it. And I just think sometimes we underestimate, like, find things to make this business work for you, because that is a miracle. Everything that I committed to is 6:45, and I also committed to not drinking. And like, I just can't imagine maybe how I would have coped through this if it wasn't for that. Sorry, I just had to share that because I think it's a huge testimony. So
that's so cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and just like I always tell like my team, but just like really like praying and asking the Lord, like, hey, Lord, what direction do you want to take this business? Like he knows what's ahead of you, he knows like what's coming in 3 or 4 months. And so he knows what you need, and so he's going to give you like that creativity to know what you need in this, even in this business, like what challenge group you need to run, for yourself, but then it could also just be for one person on your team, So that's just, I love that. That's so cool.
I'm going to type in this book I was reading at the time. And if you guys haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I love it. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pray over Ruth, and thank you guys again for being on tonight. Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for this sweet night, Lord. Thank you for just all these incredible women that came here tonight just to learn and grow and took, a break from family time and their husbands or, hurried and rushed through bedtime in order to be here, God. I just want to thank you for their faithfulness and their commitment, God, to their business, to them serving their teams, to growing as a leader. God, I just thank you so much for just them being on mission with me, God. It's just so cool to link arms together and to say, we want to help people get fit and healthy, but ultimately we want to point them to you, Jesus. And so I just thank you so much for Ruth. I thank you for just how you connected us at leadership, Lord, and God, just for her story, God. I know that it is hard to share, but God, you are using her story for your glory. And God, I just thank you for how you're making her more like you through it, God. And I just see your fingerprints on her life, God. And I just praise you for her. I praise you for her willingness to share even the vulnerable things, the things that are still raw, the things that she's still processing and working through. But God, you're in it. And so I just thank you so much for just her willingness to share in order to make us better and to encourage us in our own struggles and our own things in life, God. I just want to pray over each and every one of the women listening to this call, God. God, just so much heaviness, God, happening in the world around us. But God, I just thank you for the opportunity to come here and link arms and become better through this business. And God, Lord, I just look at my own life and I think about, the things that are second nature now, but God might not have been if I wouldn't have really leaned in. And so, God, I just pray that you would help them to lean in whatever that looks like in their season of life. God, I pray over Ruth and her team. I pray for blessings over her sweet babies. I pray for her and her husband, that you would just continue to strengthen their marriage, God, strengthen their team, strengthen their business, God. Lord, that you would just help it to be fruitful, help continue to give her fresh joy and fresh excitement for what you're doing, Lord. And it's in your precious and holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for being on tonight. Thanks again, Ruth. Y'all have a great night.